guys, so I'm here today to do my TBR video for the O.W.Ls Readathon. And so this is a readathon that started last year in 2018, it's 2019, and it's created by Book Roast, who is a booktube channel that I will link down below. And I remember watching people participate last year and thinking that sounds like so much fun, but I kind of missed the ball on things and wasn't organised enough to involve myself. But it's a month-long readathon that starts at the beginning of April, ends at the end of April, so it's a good chunk of time. And the purpose of the readathon is really fun and interactive, and the idea is that you are trying to obtain your O.W.Ls, which are ordinary wizarding levels from Hogwarts School of Witchcraft and Wizardry. So for each possible O.W.L that you could get, say History of Magic, Transfiguration, Defence Against the Dark Arts, there's a specific book challenge. So for every book challenge you get, that's an O.W.L ticked off the list, an exam passed. And then because the Book Roast has gone into crazy amounts of incredible detail, which I'm so impressed with, there are wizard career paths all laid out for you, and prerequisites for each career path that you would need to get whilst at school. So you can aim for certain career paths that you're interested in. And once you've completed your O.W.Ls, of course, the next step in the Harry Potter universe is your Newts, which comes around late summer, early autumn. So there is a second readathon later this year, where during another month you carry on the O.W.Ls you passed from this readathon and try to obtain the Newts for them, and then hopefully get to be hired in your chosen field. I've had a wee look at the careers, and I have to say, because I'm a bit boring and I like what I like, the career paths that appeal the most to me are the writer/journalist career path, the ministry employee, so Ministry of Magic employee career path, so there's a few different lines you can go down there, or a teacher at Hogwarts School of Witchcraft and Wizardry, where again you can teach a specific subject. I am what I am, and if I taught at Hogwarts, I would want to teach History of Magic. I'm sorry, Bins, I don't mean to take your job from you, but that would be the class I would aim to take. So those are the career paths I would like to do. However, I thought the easiest thing really would be to pick a book for each of the O.W.L categories and just aim to complete as many as possible, and then kind of see what careers I'm qualified for. To be fair, the journalist/writer one is actually the easiest one because you only need 3 O.W.Ls. Because you only need 3 different subjects, but the other 2 I picked require quite a lot, so it's going to depend how much reading I get done in the month. So without further ado, I'm going to jump in. I'm going to tell you the books I would like to read for each of the challenges. So the first subject is Ancient Runes, and the challenge is to read a retelling. This is possibly one of the easiest challenges on this list for me, because I have tons of retellings on my shelves, on audiobooks I'm raring to read. However, the one I'm the most excited for at the moment is Uprooted by Naomi Novik, which is a retelling of the Beauty and the Beast fairy tale with elements of Polish folklore in there, and I'm been meaning to read this book for the longest time, and my library has it on audiobook, and I think this month, April, the readathon is the time. The next subject is arithmancy, and the challenge is to read a book written by more than one author. Now, I have a couple of essay collections on my shelves that are written by more than one author, because obviously they collect together different essayist writings. But the one that's definitely been on there for the longest is If They Come in the Morning, Voices of Resistance by Angela Y. Davis, well, edited by Angela Y. Davis, although her writing does feature in this collection as well, along with other authors. It originally came out in the 70s. It originally came out in the 70s, so these essays are quite old, but this is a reprint edition from Verso, and all of these essays are exploring the incarceration system and the prison justice system in America. And like I said, it's been on my shelf for ages, and I do really want to read it because I loved Angela Davis's book Are Prisons Obsolete? So I think I'm going to love this, and I really do need to get around to it. For the next challenge, I literally only had one option on my shelves, and that is astronomy, and the challenge is to read a book with star in the title. And like I said, there was only one book on my shelf that fitted this challenge, and only even one book that I was really aware of that was on my radar that I wanted to read that had star in the title, and that is Of Fire and Stars by Audrey Coulhurst. This is a YA fantasy romance with an FF, like romance, like a female romance, so that was why I picked this one up, because I'm always looking for female romances in my fantasy literature, well, in generally in literature, but particularly like adamant about finding them in fantasy because I feel they're underrepresented, and from what I hear, this is very much focused on the development of that relationship. It's not like big extreme adventure wild fantasy. It's very much just about these two young women in the sort of court in this magical world falling in love and presumably not being intended for one another. So I should really get around to this. This should be the boot up, this should really be the kick that I need to finally read this one. We then have Care of Magical Creatures, for which the challenge is to read a book with a land animal on the cover. And I was actually surprised by how many sea and air animals I had on fronts of books, but not land animals. But then I realised I did have one that literally just came in the post a couple of days ago, so I can promise you I'm going to read because I've been waiting for it to come so I can read it immediately. And that is The Girl Aquarium by Jen Campbell. And it may be under the water, but elephants are land animals, I know that. There's also a wee flamingo here. But yeah, so this obviously has an elephant on the front, so it ticks that category off, but it is a poetry collection. It's Jen's first full poetry collection to be published. She's previously had a poetry pamphlet published by the Readathon, which I have read and loved, so I am just, 100% certain I'm also going to love this full collection as well. Cannot wait to give it a shot. For the subject of charms, the inspiration is the age line spell, and you're to read an adult book, which is not a problem. I will read an adult piece of literature during the month. I've already mentioned some adult literature in this pile. However, I figured I would just pick out a specific book dedicated to that section as well, and that is The Crow Garden by Alice in Littlewood, because I was intending on reading this one anyway, and it couldn't go in the land animal category because it has a bird on it. So it fits into this one, and then I still get to, tick off a subject. This one is a novel set in the 1800s in a mental hospital where a new doctor has just started, and one of his patients is a woman that's been committed by her husband to this sanatorium, I guess, for hysteria. And I find the historical background of women's hysteria fascinating. It also sounds like a bit of a mystery novel set in a historical time period I always enjoy reading about, so I have high hopes for this one. For Defence Against the Dark Arts, the inspiration is the Reducto spell, so read a book beginning with an R. And for that one, I'm going to use this I am using this as an excuse to read a book that I have been meaning to read for donkey's years and don't know why I've been putting off, and that is Red Rosa by Kate Evans. This is a illustrated graphic novel biography of Rosa Luxemburg, who is a historical political activist that I am in complete awe of and love reading about. And this is what the art looks like inside. It's black and white. This is meant to be an incredible biography. It looks like it may be a graphic novel, but it has tons and tons and tons of detail in it. It's quite chunky, and I really need to read this. Plus, double R, alliteration, so even better, right? For divination, you are to read a book set in the future, and I was going to be buddy reading this book in April anyway, and it does fit, so perfect. And that is Tentacle by Rita Indiana. Now, this is a book set in an apocalyptic future, but I believe the main character does time travel back in time. However, it is initially set in the future, so I think it counts. It's certainly science fiction, so I think it's within the spirit of this challenge. And this one sounds brilliant. It is a translated novel published by And Other Stories. And in this book, our main character is basically tasked with going back and stopping climate change from happening, which I imagine was what caused this apocalyptic world to exist. And she has to take inspiration from the sea anemone, I believe, and change her gender in order to do this. I don't know how all those things are going to combine together, but I'm so fascinated to find out. We then have Herbology, read a book with a plant on the cover. This, again, I will have no issue with because I have so many books with plants on the front covers. It's such a popular design trope, let's be honest, which I don't mind because I like a wee floral pattern on my books. But the one that has been sitting on my TBR recently that I've been meaning to pick up and is just covered in flowers, so seemed appropriate, was Wild Beauty by Anna Marie McLemore. This is a young adult magical realism novel, and I am constantly hearing people rave about Anna Marie McLemore on BookTube, so I really feel like I am missing out not having read anything by her yet. And this is about a family of women who are cursed that whenever they fall in love with a young man, say, the subject of their affection disappears, and I imagine it's about a sort of culmination of that curse and their lives living with this curse. We then have History of Magic, which is one that I definitely need to complete if I want to become a History of Magic teacher, so I cannot let this one fail, and that is to read a book published 10 years or more ago. So I've decided to go for The White Mare by Jules Watson. Not only was this published in 2005, but it is set in the 1st century AD in Roman Britain. So it seems very historically appropriate to me, plus it's got fantasy in it, so it's magical. And I think I've already given away some of those elements to you, but it follows a Scottish druidess in obviously the north of Britain during Roman occupation, when Scotland, however, was still sort of like in opposition to the Romans and wasn't as dominated, I guess, as England was. And our druidess priestess has to save her people with the help of an Irish prince. And I'm like, yes, this combines so many things I love. There's 3 more subjects left though, and the next one is Muggle Studies, read a contemporary novel. And for this challenge, I would like to read The Nakano Thrift Shop by Hiromi Kawakami. I actually plan on picking this up as soon as I'm finished the book I'm currently reading, which I have like less than 100 pages left in, and there's a couple days left in the month, so I'm assuming I'll essentially start this on the 1st of April, and I'm super excited for it. It's a Japanese novel set in a thrift store where our main character gets a job, and it's all about the different people that she works with in this thrift shop and their different lives, and it sounds really interesting. I've heard some great things. But our penultimate subject is potions, and for that you should read a book which is a sequel in the spirit of adding the next ingredient. So I'm reading the 2nd book in a duology, which means I will have completed this duology, and I'm really excited about this, and it's The Rose and the Dagger by Readathon. So I literally just read the 1st book in the series in this month during a different readathon, which was The Wrath and the Dawn, and this is a retelling of the 1001 Arabian Nights like fable with elements of Bluebeard and Beauty and the Beast and Aladdin thrown in there. It's a lovely mishmash of different things, and I adored the 1st book in this duology, so much so that I immediately ordered the sequel and have been so excited to get to it. So again, this is one I plan on starting really, really soon, and it'll be nice to have like rounded out that story. So yeah, and then last but not least is Transfiguration. Read either a book with sprayed edges or a red cover. So I am cheating slightly because I want to finish a book I've already started, but it is like full on red cover, and that is Conversations with Allende by Regis Debray, Socialism in Chile. So these are Regis Debray's interviews with Salvador Allende, the president of Chile from the 1970s. However, the portion I've read so far has purely been introductory material. I have not got to the actual interview portion yet, which is what I obviously bought it for, so I'm really excited to finish this book and read a little bit about what Allende had to say. It sounds really interesting. But those are the books I picked for each challenge. Naturally, I could change this slightly, but I am hoping to complete quite a few of these subjects in order to have the best career prospects possible and the widest selection of newts to choose from when the next part of this readathon comes on later this year. So I would love to hear if you have any thoughts on any of these books. Are you participating in this readathon? What are you planning on reading? I would love to know. And on top of that, what career path would you choose from the selection provided by the readathon organiser? I will of course link all the information down below. But until next time, happy reading, and I'll see you again soon. Bye guys!